welcome back to my channel. My name is Samantha, if you're new here, and today I received a question, so I'm going to be doing a video on this particular question. If you guys have a question for me, feel free to email me at the email that I will leave in the description box below. So the question was, how to handle anxiety and responsibility. So anxiety plays a very important role in our well-being, and it tells us what we don't want. So when we become anxious and overwhelmed, the mind and body are trying to tell us that it doesn't want something, or a wound is not healed yet and it's trying to be integrated or healed. So when we take on too much responsibility, anxiety comes with it. So it's very helpful to ask ourselves, if you are a person that tends to take on too much or puts too much on their plate, to ask yourself why you feel the need to do it. So responsibility is a very wonderful characteristic. However, if we put too much on our plate, we tend to be very resentful to ourselves. So resentment comes from saying, not being able to say no. And no, the answer no is not a bad word. It is essential for our well-being, and it is essential for our happiness. So it is very helpful to ask yourself if you have taken on too much responsibility, if you can say no, and if you can't say no, then ask yourself why. So typically, when we feel like we can't say no, a lot of other negative emotions comes with it, like being overwhelmed, drained, resentfulness. We tend to sometimes blame other people when we take on too much responsibility. So another question that I like to ask myself, if I have taken on too much responsibility and become anxious or nervous, is why am I doing this for the sole purpose? So this question is really helpful for me, because if I answer no to this question, it usually implies that obviously I'm not staying true to my desires, which is what responsibility is staying true to your desires, or being accountable for your desires or your priorities. So am I doing this for the sole purpose? If the answer is no, then ask yourself why you're not doing this for the sole purpose. And it's usually out of some sort of obligation, or you feel like you have to do it. So all responsibility is staying true to your priorities and staying true to your wants and your needs. So all priority is basically having your best interest at heart, or having the best outcome within yourself. So another question that I like to ask myself is, when I feel like I've taken on too much responsibility, or I feel like I'm a person that is too accountable for other people, I typically like to ask myself, am I avoiding something? So when we have a specific pain internally that we don't want to admit to, or we don't want to acknowledge because it's too painful to acknowledge, we like to distract ourselves. So pain and emotions that we consider uncomfortable are just guidelines into where we would like to go within our life, or if we are happy within our life. So if we didn't have emotions, we would have no sense of direction. So even if you don't want to acknowledge, or not ready to acknowledge or fix the internal pain, it's really helpful to keep that in mind when we are taking on too much responsibility. Such as, this will include, maybe you don't want to acknowledge that you're really tired, and if you were to acknowledge that you were tired, then that would mean that you would have to possibly take a break, and if you were to take a break, then that would mean you would have to be alone in your feelings. So it's possible that you are taking on too much responsibility because you don't want to be alone in your feelings. So these are a few questions that I like to ask myself when I feel like I'm taking on too much responsibility. I personally feel that your mental stability and your mental health should be a number one priority, because everything else will fall into place when we listen to our internal guidance system and our internal feelings. in our internal world, everything else will work out and fall into place. So I hope this was helpful for anyone, and thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.